At a gathering of the city's richest and most powerful men, a billionaire playboy stood tall, flaunting his ego like it was a trophy. He said, "No woman on this earth has the power to move me. Not their tears, not their beauty, not their desperation. I've conquered them all." But he had no idea that across the city, a poor single mom, selling akara to survive and care for her son, held the key to both his downfall and his redemption. Subscribe now to witness how a woman with nothing changed everything. What happens next will leave you speechless. Williams Adelique's penthouse gleamed like a diamond in Lagos skyline, 50 floors above the chaos of honking buses and street vendors. At 35, he commanded an empire worth billions of naira, his name whispered in boardrooms from Victoria Island to Ikoyi. His office walls displayed magazine covers featuring his face, Africa's most eligible bachelor, the king of Lagos commerce. But his heart, colder than the marble floors of his mansion. "Love is a luxury I can't afford," he'd tell his assistant while signing contracts worth millions. His ego shone brighter than his gold watch, and his arrogance cut deeper than a Lagos traffic jam. Women threw themselves at his feet like rose petals, but he stepped over them without a glance. Money was his only mistress, success his only companion. 28 kilometers away, in the bustling heart of Oshodi Market, Anna's story painted a different picture. At 28, her hands bore the permanent burns of hot oil from her akara stall, small blisters marking years of struggle. "Buy your hot akara," she called out, her voice barely audible above the chaos. Each golden ball she sold brought her closer to her son's medical bills, little David, just 7 years old, whose persistent cough kept her awake at night. The doctors at Lagos University Teaching Hospital spoke in expensive terms: asthma medication, specialist consultation, monthly checkups. Words that cost more than her monthly earnings. Her late husband's photograph sat tucked in her purse, a gentle reminder of better days. Her late husband had been a respected civil servant before his sudden heart attack 2 years ago, leaving Anna with nothing but memories and mounting debt. The life insurance? Tied up in legal battles with his family, who claimed she wasn't worthy of his name. All she had left was a sealed envelope of old government bonds he'd bought for David's future. Bonds she couldn't cash now without heavy penalties, meant to mature when their son turned 18. Her grandmother's Yoruba proverb gave her strength when the world seemed determined to break her spirit. "The river that forgets its source dries up," she whispered, touching the photograph. The two worlds, Williams's expensive penthouse and Anna's humble stall, seemed destined never to meet. Yet both lived in the same Lagos, breathed the same humid air, and would soon discover that destiny doesn't respect bank account balances. The collision of their worlds began at the most unlikely place, a charity event at the Oriental Hotel. Williams had sponsored the event, not out of kindness but for the tax write-offs and photo opportunities. He stood in his tailored Tom Ford suit, champagne flute in hand, surveying the room like a king observing his subjects. Anna shouldn't have been there. She'd been hired by the catering company as extra help, her clean white uniform and nervous smile making her invisible to the wealthy guests. She moved through the crowd like a ghost, refilling champagne glasses and collecting empty plates. "Excuse me," Williams's voice cut through the jazz music when she reached for his glass. "You're dripping water on my shoes." Anna looked down, mortified. A drop from the champagne bottle had indeed fallen on his Italian leather shoes. "I'm so sorry, sir. Let me. Don't touch them." His voice was ice. "Do you know how much these shoes cost? More than you make in 6 months, I'd bet." The conversation around them quieted. Guests turned to watch the spectacle. Anna's cheeks burned with embarrassment, but she maintained her dignity. "You're right, sir. I apologize. Williams, please." His friend, Oscar, touched his arm. "She's just doing her job." But Williams's ego had taken center stage. This is exactly what's wrong with this country. People who don't know their place, reaching for things beyond their station. He turned to Anna with a cruel smile. "Tell me, what do you do when you're not ruining expensive shoes?" I sell akara in Oshodi Market, sir." The crowd tittered. Williams's laugh was the loudest. "Akara seller. Of course. And I suppose you think if you work hard enough, you'll own a chain of restaurants." Her hands trembled, but her voice remained steady. "I work to take care of my son, sir. That's all." Touching. Very touching. His sarcasm dripped like honey. Here's some advice from someone who actually built something. Stop dreaming and accept your reality. What happened next would replay in Williams's mind for weeks. Instead of cowering or arguing, Anna simply looked at him with eyes that seemed to see straight through his expensive facade. A tree that refuses to bend breaks in the storm, sir. Her voice was soft as palm wine but cut deeper than a machete. But one that bends, survives to grow another day. She turned and walked away, leaving Williams standing there with his mouth slightly open. Something about her dignity in the face of his cruelty unsettled him. He'd humiliated dozens of people before, but none had ever walked away with such quiet strength. 3 days after, tragedy struck, but not where anyone expected. Williams's younger sister, Mary, was shopping at Oshodi Market when a poorly constructed stall collapsed during a sudden Lagos downpour. The metal sheets came crashing down, and vendors scattered like startled birds. Mary, in her designer heels and confusion, stumbled and fell directly in the path of the falling debris. Anna saw it happen from her stall. Without thinking, she abandoned her precious akara and dove forward, pushing Mary out of harm's way. The metal sheet caught Anna's shoulder, tearing her wrapper and drawing blood, but Mary was safe. "Are you all right?" Anna helped the shaken woman to her feet. Yes, thank you." Mary's voice shook. "You saved my life. It's nothing. Just being human." Anna winced as she touched her shoulder. "Are you hurt?" "No, but you are. Please, let me take you to the hospital." "I can't afford. I insist." Mary's phone buzzed with messages from her worried driver. "My brother. He needs to know about this." "You're a hero." When Williams arrived at the hospital, his world tilted. The woman who'd saved his sister's life was the same akara seller he'd humiliated the night before. Mary recounted the story with tears in her eyes, praising Anna's selflessness. "She didn't even hesitate, brother. She just acted like an angel." Williams stared at Anna through the hospital room window. She sat quietly, her arm in a sling, refusing the private room he'd tried to pay for. "The general ward is fine," she told the nurse. "Other people need care too." His guilt felt heavier than his gold chains. Here was someone who had every reason to hate him, yet she'd risked her life for his sister without knowing who she was. The irony wasn't lost on him. The woman he'd dismissed as worthless had proven more valuable than anyone in his circle. "I want to make this right," he told Mary. "Then do it properly. Don't just throw money at her. That's what everyone expects from you." The next day, Williams appeared at Anna's stall. The market buzzed with whispers, Lagos' most eligible bachelor standing among the akara smoke and chaos. He looked completely out of place in his crisp white shirt and black trousers. "I came to apologize," he said simply. Anna continued frying, not meeting his eyes. "No need, sir. I understand." "No, you don't." He moved closer, ignoring the curious stares. "What I said the other night, it was wrong. Cruel. You saved my sister's life, and I treated you like dirt. Your sister is a good woman. I would have done the same for anyone." "That's exactly my point." He paused, watching her expert hands flip the akara. "I have a proposition." She finally looked at him, wariness in her eyes. "I'm listening." "I need someone to cater my business events. Someone who understands real food, not just pretty presentations. The pay is good, very good." "Why me?" "Because you're better than the people I usually deal with. You have something money can't buy." "And what's that?" "Integrity. Have you ever been underestimated? Watch Anna's rise, because what happens next will shock you." The catering job changed everything. The first dinner event was a merger celebration at his company's headquarters. Williams's business associates expected fancy continental dishes and pretentious presentations. Instead, Anna served them jollof rice that made their eyes roll back in pleasure, pepper soup that cleared their sinuses and their minds, and akara so perfectly seasoned that grown men fought over the last pieces. "Where did you find this goddess?" asked Mr. James, one of Williams's biggest clients, after a particularly successful dinner event. "In Oshodi Market," Williams replied, surprising himself with the pride in his voice. But it wasn't just the food. Anna brought something else to his events: authenticity. She moved through his artificial world like a gentle breeze, treating his billionaire guests with the same respect she showed market vendors. She listened to their stories, remembered their preferences, and somehow made everyone feel special. "You know what your problem is," she told him one evening after a successful event. "You think money makes you important. But importance comes from what you do for others. Easy to say when you don't have the pressure I have." "Pressure?" She laughed, not mockingly but with genuine amusement. "Boss, you haven't seen pressure. Pressure is watching your child struggle to breathe and not having money for medicine. Pressure is choosing between school fees and feeding your family. You have challenges, not pressure." Her words hit him like a Lagos thunderstorm, sudden, powerful, and impossible to ignore. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to him without fear or flattery. She saw him not as a bank account with legs, but as a human being with flaws. Their relationship began to shift. What started as guilt-motivated employment became something deeper. Williams found himself looking forward to their conversations, her quiet wisdom cutting through his corporate noise. She never asked for anything, never complained about her circumstances, never tried to manipulate him for favors. "My husband left something for David's future," she mentioned one evening as they sat on his penthouse balcony, "government bonds. They're sealed away, meant for when he turns 18. Sometimes I look at that envelope and wonder if he'd understand why I can't touch them now, even when we need the money so badly." "You could cash them early, couldn't you? For emergencies." "At a huge loss. And they were his last gift to our son, his way of ensuring David would have options I never had. Some things are worth more than their immediate value." "Why don't you hate me?" he asked. "Hate is too heavy to carry," she said simply. "I have enough burdens already. But I was horrible to you. You were hurt. Hurt people. But they can also heal people if they choose to." Her words were like seeds planted in concrete, impossible to ignore once they took root. Williams began to notice things he'd never seen before. How his security guards lit up when Anna brought them food, how his driver's children knew her name because she always asked about them, how she remembered everyone's birthday and made sure they felt special. But Lagos wasn't done with its surprises. In the shadows of Williams's success, his business rival, Chief Eben, was plotting his downfall. Eben had been trying to acquire Williams's logistics company for years, and now he saw an opportunity. "The boy is distracted," Eben told his associates in a smoke-filled room in Ikeja, "chasing after some market woman like a lovesick puppy. This is our chance." The attack came from multiple directions. Eben didn't just spread rumors, he executed a sophisticated financial assault. Using his connections in the banking sector, he triggered a coordinated credit freeze, convincing multiple lenders that Williams's company was overextended. Overnight, Williams's access to operating capital vanished. "Sir, we're in crisis," Williams's financial advisor, Kate, rushed into his office with a stack of papers. "The banks have frozen our credit lines. We have major contracts to fulfill but no operating capital to fund them. Without immediate liquidity, we'll miss our deliveries, trigger penalty clauses, and face bankruptcy within weeks." Williams's empire, built over 15 years, was crumbling not from poor performance but from a coordinated financial stranglehold. His assets were substantial, but they were tied up in properties, investments, and long-term contracts, none of which could be quickly converted to cash without devastating losses. "Maybe you should stop the catering business," his assistant suggested. "Focus on the core issues." "No." The word came out sharper than intended. "Anna has nothing to do with this." But privately, doubt crept in. Was he really distracted? Had his growing feelings for the akara seller clouded his business judgment? The questions tormented him during long nights staring at financial reports and legal documents. Anna noticed the change immediately. The confident man who'd once commanded every room now seemed smaller, burdened by invisible weights. She found him one evening in his office, surrounded by crumpled papers and empty coffee cups. "When did you last eat?" she asked, setting down a plate of rice and stew. "I'm not hungry." "Your body doesn't care about your business problems. It needs fuel." She sat across from him, patient as a river stone. "What's really bothering you?" "I'm losing everything." The words tumbled out like a confession. 15 years of work, gone. And everyone saying it's because I'm distracted by by you. And you believe them? I don't know what to believe anymore. Anna was quiet for a long moment, studying his face with those eyes that seemed to see everything. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out the sealed envelope she'd mentioned before, the one containing her late husband's government bonds. These belonged to my husband, she said softly. He bought them when David was born, meant for his 18th birthday. They've been maturing for 7 years now. Anna, you can't. Those are for David's future. David won't have a future worth investing in if good people like you are destroyed by evil men like Eben. She placed the envelope on his desk. Besides, this isn't charity. This is business. I want shares in your company, equal partnership. Williams's hands shook as he examined the bonds. They had matured into a sum that, while not enormous by billionaire standards, was exactly what he needed to meet his immediate obligations and keep his company operational during the crisis. This is David's inheritance. His education, his opportunities. His inheritance is watching his mother stand up for what's right. His education is learning that sometimes you have to risk what you have to save what matters most. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. And his opportunities will be infinite if we build something together that's bigger than either of us alone. Wait. What? The woman he'd once dismissed as a poor akara seller was offering to become his business partner, risking her son's entire future to save a man who'd initially treated her with contempt. You knew you could have demanded anything from me, he whispered. But instead, you're risking everything for me. Because you needed to learn who you really were when everything was stripped away. You needed to discover if you were the kind of man worth saving. She smiled through tears that matched his own. And you are. The boardroom air thickened with shock the next morning when Anna walked in wearing a simple dress and carrying the cashed bonds, now converted to the liquidity injection that would save Williams's company. The lawyers had worked through the night to formalize their partnership agreement. Gentlemen, Williams addressed his board of directors, his voice steady despite the earthquake in his chest. I'd like you to meet my new business partner, Mrs. Anna. The men around the table looked like they'd seen a ghost. The woman who'd served them jollof rice and pepper soup was now revealed as the co-owner of their company, having risked her son's entire future to save them all. Mrs. Anna has a proposal for dealing with our current crisis, Williams continued. I suggest we listen carefully. Anna stood, her presence commanding despite her simple appearance. Chief Eben thinks he's playing chess while we're playing checkers. But he's forgotten something important. This company was built on relationships, not just contracts. And relationships can't be frozen by banks or bought by competitors. Her plan was brilliant in its simplicity. With the liquidity crisis resolved, they could fulfill their existing contracts and maintain client relationships. But more than that, they would use this crisis to strengthen their position. Personal visits to every client, family-style meetings where business was discussed over home-cooked meals, genuine relationship building that no financial manipulation could destroy. In the market, Anna explained, we say, a satisfied customer brings 10 more, but an angry customer takes 20 away. Chief Eben is offering lower prices, but we'll offer something he can't, family. The strategy worked like magic. With their operations stabilized and their commitment to clients demonstrated through the crisis, trust deepened. Clients who'd been worried about the company's stability saw the partnership between Williams and Anna as a sign of strength, not weakness. This is what business used to be, said Mr. Maxwell, one of their oldest clients. People dealing with people, not just numbers on a screen. When you were in trouble, you didn't just cut costs and fire people, you found a way to keep your promises. Within weeks, Chief Eben's financial assault backfired. The banking consortium that had frozen Williams's credit realized they'd been manipulated and began investigating Eben's role in the coordinated attack. His own company faced scrutiny for market manipulation and anti-competitive practices. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was personal. The final confrontation came during a Lagos Chamber of Commerce meeting where both Williams and Eben were scheduled to speak. The tension in the room was palpable as two of Nigeria's most powerful businessmen faced off. Ladies and gentlemen, Eben began his presentation with a confident smile, I'm here to discuss the future of business in Lagos. A future where emotion doesn't cloud judgment, where sentiment doesn't override smart decisions. His words were aimed directly at Williams, who sat in the front row beside Anna. The audience knew about their unusual partnership. The story had spread through Lagos business community like wildfire. Some people, Eben continued, allow personal feelings to compromise their professional judgment. They mistake charity for strategy, confuse sympathy with business sense. They even risk their children's inheritance on emotional decisions. His words cut deep. Everyone knew about Anna's sacrifice of David's bonds. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Eben was being bold, directly challenging not just Williams's business approach but Anna's maternal wisdom. But I'm here to tell you that business is not about feelings. It's about results. And results speak for themselves. He clicked to his next slide, showing impressive profit margins and growth projections. My company has grown 40% this year while others have struggled with distractions. When it was Williams's turn to speak, he stood slowly, his hands steady despite the weight of the moment. The room fell silent as he approached the podium. Chief Eben is right about one thing, he began, his voice carrying across the room. Business is about results. But he's wrong about what produces those results. He clicked to his first slide, a photo of Anna serving food to children at a Lagos orphanage, an event sponsored by their company. For 15 years, I thought like Chief Eben. I believed that business was about taking, about winning at all costs, about keeping emotions separate from decisions. I was successful, on paper. But I was also alone, empty, and ultimately, vulnerable. The next slide showed their company's recent performance metrics, growth that exceeded even Eben's impressive numbers. 6 months ago, a woman I'd never met risked her life to save my sister. She didn't know who my sister was, didn't know what she might gain from it. She just saw someone in danger and acted. That woman is now my business partner, and she's taught me something Chief Eben will never understand. Business is about building, not destroying. He clicked through slides showing their client retention rates, employee satisfaction scores, and community impact initiatives. The numbers were staggering, not just recovered from the crisis, but stronger than ever. When you treat people like family, they respond like family. When you invest in relationships instead of just transactions, you create something that can't be destroyed by financial manipulation or corporate sabotage. Chief Eben tried to strangle our company with a liquidity crisis, but he couldn't strangle our relationships. The final slide showed a quote from a thank you letter from one of their clients. In our darkest hour, you didn't abandon us. In your darkest hour, we won't abandon you. My business partner sacrificed her son's inheritance to save this company, Williams continued, his voice thick with emotion. Not because she had to, but because she believed in something bigger than herself. That's the kind of partnership Chief Eben will never understand, one built on sacrifice instead of sabotage. The room erupted in applause. Chief Eben's confident smile had vanished, replaced by the pale recognition of defeat. But Williams wasn't finished. Mrs. Anna, he said, turning to face her in the audience, would you join me up here? Anna's eyes widened in surprise. But she stood and walked to the front of the room. The crowd watched, mesmerized by the drama unfolding before them. Ladies and gentlemen, Williams's voice carried a tremor of emotion, I want to say something publicly that I should have said months ago. He turned to face Anna directly. You saved more than my sister's life that day in Oshodi Market. You saved mine. You showed me that strength isn't about how much you can take from the world, but how much you can give to it. That wisdom isn't about having all the answers, but about asking the right questions. The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. I thought I was hiring a caterer, but I found a teacher. I thought I was helping someone in need, but you were helping me discover who I really was. You could have used your shares to control me, to get revenge for how I treated you, to demand anything you wanted. Instead, you waited for me to become someone worthy of your trust. Tears glistened in Anna's eyes as she listened to his words. I asked you once why you didn't hate me after how cruelly I'd treated you. Well, I have a question for you now. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Will you marry me? The crowd gasped. Anna's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'm not asking you to marry my money or my status, Williams continued. I'm asking you to marry the man you helped me become. The man who learned that true wealth isn't what you accumulate, but what you're willing to sacrifice for others. You gave up David's inheritance to save me. Now I want to spend my life making sure David has an inheritance worth having, not just money, but an example of what love looks like. Anna, with tears streaming down her cheeks, looked down at this man who'd once mocked her poverty, who'd dismissed her dreams, who'd now knelt before her offering his heart. The transformation was complete. The arrogant billionaire had become someone capable of love. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "yes." The room exploded in applause and cheers. Even Chief Eben, defeated and humbled, found himself clapping for the couple. William, still on his knee, slipped the ring onto Anna's finger. She leaned down and whispered in his ear, "David's real inheritance was never those bonds. It was watching his mother choose love over fear, and his new father choose humility over pride." 6 months later, Lego society buzzed with talk of the most unusual wedding of the decade. Instead of the typical extravagant affair at the Oriental Hotel, Williams and Anna chose to celebrate at the Lagos National Theatre, with a reception that included everyone from billionaire business partners to market vendors from Oshodi. The ceremony itself was a beautiful blend of tradition and innovation. Anna wore her beautiful wedding gown, and Williams' white suit. The pastor who officiated was the same one who'd counseled Anna through her first husband's death, and the prayers were offered in both English and Yoruba. In Yoruba tradition, the pastor explained to the mixed congregation, marriage is not just between two people, but between two families, two histories, two futures. Today, we witness the joining of wealth and wisdom, of success and service, of pride transformed into humility. Young David, now 8 and breathing easily thanks to proper medical care, served as ring bearer. His health had improved dramatically over the past months, not just because of better doctors but because of reduced stress at home. And despite his mother's sacrifice of the bonds, his future was brighter than ever. He was now the son of 2 successful business partners, with opportunities that no amount of money could have originally bought. The reception was unlike anything Lagos had ever seen. Instead of the usual 7-course continental dinner, guests enjoyed a feast of Nigerian delicacies prepared by Anna and a team of the best local cooks. Jollof rice, pepper soup, suya, pounded yam, and yes, the best akara in Lagos, all served with the same care and attention whether you were a government minister or a taxi driver. "This is real celebration," laughed Mrs. James, one of Williams's longtime clients, as she watched her usually formal husband dancing energetically to Afrobeat music. Not just showing off, but actually celebrating. The speeches were short but powerful. Mary, Williams's sister, spoke about the day Anna saved her life and how it had changed their entire family. "She didn't just save me from falling metal," Mary said, tears in her eyes. "She saved my brother from falling into a life without love." Oscar, Williams's closest friend, admitted his own transformation. "I used to worry about Williams becoming too soft, too emotional. Now I realize I was worried about him becoming too human. Anna didn't make him weak, she made him complete." But the most moving speech came from someone unexpected, Chief Eben. The man who tried to destroy Williams's business approached the microphone with obvious reluctance. "I came here tonight to eat your food and make small talk," he began, his voice gruff with emotion. "But watching this celebration, seeing how you've brought together people from every corner of Lagos society, I realize I've been fighting the wrong battle." He looked directly at Williams and Anna. "I spent months trying to prove that business success required ruthlessness. You've proven that it requires relationship. I tried to show that emotion was weakness. You've shown that it's strength. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I'm here to ask for lessons." The crowd was stunned. Chief Eben, asking for lessons from the couple he'd tried to destroy? The wedding night found the newlyweds not in some exotic honeymoon destination, but on the balcony of their shared penthouse, looking out over the Lagos skyline. The city sprawled endlessly before them, millions of lights twinkling like earthbound stars. "Are you sure about this?" Williams asked, his arm around his new wife. "You could have married anyone. A doctor, a lawyer, someone without so much baggage." "I didn't fall in love with what you used to be," Anna replied softly. "I fell in love with who you chose to become." Below them, Lagos hummed with its eternal energy. In Oshodi Market, Anna's former stall had been taken over by her cousin, who served customers with the same dignity and care. The sign above the stall read, "Anna's Legacy, where every customer is family." Their combined business empire flourished, but not in the way Williams had previously measured success. Yes, profits were higher than ever, but the real measure of their success was different. Employee turnover dropped to nearly zero. Customer satisfaction ratings soared. The company's community development programs became models for other businesses across Africa. "You know what I realized?" Williams said, watching a plane's lights move across the dark sky. "I spent years trying to be above people, when what I really needed was to be among them." "The tree that stands alone breaks in the storm," Anna quoted. "But the tree that grows in the forest stands strong." Their first year of marriage brought challenges, adjusting to blended family life, learning to balance personal and professional relationships, dealing with the occasional criticism from those who thought their approach was too idealistic. But each challenge strengthened their bond and refined their approach. David thrived in his new environment, his natural intelligence nurtured by the best schools and his character shaped by parents who modeled service over self-interest. He often accompanied them to business meetings, absorbing lessons about integrity and relationship building that would serve him well in his own future. "Daddy Williams," he said one evening as they reviewed homework together, "why do some people think being rich means you have to be mean?" "Because they confuse having money with being wealthy," Williams replied. "Money is what you have in your account. Wealth is what you have in your heart." The boy considered this seriously. "So Mama was always wealthy, even when she was poor?" "Exactly. And she made me wealthy too, by teaching me how to love." As their first anniversary approached, Williams and Anna established the David Foundation, named after their son. The foundation focused on supporting single mothers starting small businesses, providing microloans and mentorship to help them build sustainable livelihoods. "Every woman deserves the chance to stand on her own feet," Anna explained to the gathered media at the foundation's launch. "Not as charity, but as investment. When you invest in a woman, you invest in a family. When you invest in a family, you invest in a community." The foundation's first beneficiary was Mama Kate, the fabric seller who'd worked beside Anna's old stall. With a small loan and business training, she expanded from a single stall to a small shop, then to a wholesale operation supplying fabric to designers across West Africa. "See," Anna told Williams as they watched Mama Kate cut the ribbon at her new warehouse. "This is what real wealth looks like. Not just making money, but making opportunity." The ripple effects continued to spread. Other wealthy Nigerians began adopting similar approaches to business and philanthropy. The Williams and Anna model became a case study in business schools, showing how relationship-based commerce could be both profitable and transformative. But perhaps the most important transformation was the quietest one. Williams, who'd once boasted that no woman could move him, now found himself moved daily by small moments of grace. Anna humming while she cooked breakfast. David's laughter echoing through their home. The grateful smile of a foundation beneficiary. The respect in his employees' eyes. "I used to think love was weakness," he confided to his sister during a quiet family dinner. "Now I know it's the strongest force in the universe." "Strong enough to change an arrogant billionaire?" Mary teased. "Strong enough to reveal who he really was underneath all that armor," Anna corrected gently. "Love doesn't change people, it unveils them." As they sat together that evening, watching the Lagos sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Williams reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From that first humiliating encounter at the charity event to this moment of perfect contentment, every step had been necessary. "Do you ever miss it?" Anna asked, seeming to read his thoughts. "The old life. The simplicity of caring only about yourself." "Miss it?" Williams laughed. "It's like asking if I miss being half alive. I thought I was successful before, but I was just accumulating. Now I'm actually living." The moral of their story needed no explanation. It lived in every decision they made, every relationship they built, every life they touched. Humility and kindness hadn't just triumphed over arrogance and greed, they transformed them into something beautiful. What moved you most about this story, dear viewer? Was it the moment when pride became humility? When wealth became wisdom? Or when two broken people became whole together? Comment below and let us know, and subscribe to see more stories.